Good evening and welcome back to another edition of Beyond the Backstage Pass. I'm your host, Vince Edwards. You may know me from Sound Image Productions. I also got a couple closed roadie Facebook groups called Death by Loadout and the Backstage Pass. Come check us out over there. We're having some fun. To my right, I have my good friend and co-host, Kyle Thomas. How you doing, brother?
Not too bad, man. Another day, another dog biscuit.
They gave you another one?
Another one. I was blessed.
It must be my brother. He's very lenient. I would have said, did he be that good today? And then I would know the answer immediately, yes.
There you go.
Because
See?
magic.
He's learning.
That mix you played for me that you captured yesterday with Rick Allen and Lauren Monroe rehearsing was fantastic. It was beautiful. The ad with the choir, and it was amazing, really. It was special.
Oh, thank you. I didn't have to do too much with a lovely choir like that and a beautiful singer, you know. She knocked it right out of the park.
I think it's the first time I've outwardly said, my God, that woman's got a voice.
You sure did.
Didn't I? Right? Well,
Makes me happy.
And I had your mix, and I had it nice, and the volume was right, and everything was perf, and we talked about the mix, and I was just taken by the quality of her voice. And how full and warm and just
that country vibe. I think
there was a twang in there that I was noticing that, she's special. That's going to be something really special.
Oh, it was so much fun the past 2 days. You know, rehearsals went so well, and everybody seemed to be in good spirits. It was just nice being back doing something, you know.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We got a couple more rehearsals to go, and then we'll start putting these things in the can and getting them ready for the public. You guys, stay tuned. I know we said that. It's moving around a little bit on the date because we want to get it just right and send out something that borders on perfect because the subject is serious. The relief for musicians and techs that are struggling right now, it's a real thing. And so we're not taking it lightly. We've got some amazing artists attached to it. There's some really fun performances. You're really going to love this. So keep an eye out for the Big Love Benefit Concert Relief. It's going to be a great thing. What do you got for me today, buddy?
Man, it's just been so slammed trying to get this thing created. It's nice finally to have a separation with my schedule where it's not just sitting on the couch most of the time.
Yeah.
So now it's been the fight to reclaim the house almost.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I've been going up north and working when I'm not here and come back and busting when I'm here. So it's little time at the house. So I've been playing cleanup, working on mixes, getting my Pro Tools sessions more established at this point, trying to pick up more clients every day. So it's nice to kind of rework the setup and get my home a little bit more into working order.
Tweaked out.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a real thing. I'll go a couple days past laundry day, and feel all discombobulated.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I saw you doing laundry with everybody.
That's the thing, man.
We got Tent City in the back of, our shop right now. And of course, while everybody's building tents and stuff, I see Vinny running laundry.
Fuck. I got employees that help out very well. So.
You do.
But I can't talk them into doing my laundry. It's the problem. So that's the thing I'll handle myself. My Betty, she does her. She's a drip dry, and I'm fucking just throw a pot in there, flip it over into the dryer, bring it, heat it until it basically crisp, right this side of burnt, and bring it back in, throw it on a hanger.
Well, she's got a little bit more colorful palette than you, right? Us, we're just black. At least I'm wearing a little bit different clothes, but it's pretty standard for us. I feel like it's a little easier.
You're not wrong. I have two load colors. Every week I've got one load of blacks. On every second week I've got a load that are so-called colors. It's the towels.
Yeah, there you go. That's the only thing you've got.
Yeah, and bedding. So it's I do 6 loads a month, like clockwork. All blacks 1 week, blacks and towels and bedding on the second week, third week back. It's a thing. Yeah. And when that schedule gets screwed with, I feel off balance.
Right. I felt it when you come in. You're like, dude, your hair's all.
He's saying he prefers when I have my coffee, even though I don't drink coffee. But metaphorically, I think that's what you're saying.
Tea,
yeah. You're not wrong. I'm working on that, by the way.
We're all colorful before coffee.
Yeah.
It was like our lighting dude the day I walked in today, and he's just like, before I was even in the building, he comes up with a big smile. Kyle, I got some work. You want to help me with something? I'm like, no. Of course, I helped them. But.
They always know, man. If I'm coming pretty, it's probably trouble.
Yeah.
It's like, we got to go lift some 4880s up over our heads.
Yeah, seriously.
It's like bench press.
Always come with a smile if you want something done right.
Yeah. Well, there's a way of things. I noticed Mr. Perlman is checked in tonight. That's good. Hey, Scott, how are you, brother? We're happy to have you. Scott Cheney's checking in, too. He's a badass. And the one and only Pete O'Doul, the card provider and good friend of the show. We're glad to have you guys tonight. Hey, listen, you came on a good night. We got, like, a super special guest. This is a friend of mine. We go back, gosh, I want to say 6 or 7 years. I can't put an exact time on it because I don't really count like that. But I can count when I know a good person. I met a very talented, good person. He is from the streets and alleyways of Salinas, California. He is in an amazing punk rock, hardcore punk rock band. I don't know if he would label it hardcore. I think he mixes old school thrash and kind of curbside kind of grind and skate punk together and comes up with a thing that's kind of got a really sweet, I'd call it a boldness, a power and faith, and that he uses frenetic, tight chords, and spiritually filled street anthems. I got to take this right from your words because it's clever. You know, I struggle on writing intros. It's not easy. Please, guys, welcome the one and only Jason Anselmo Martinez, also known as Jayhawk, the singer for the Infirmities. How are you, my brother?
I'm doing great.
It's really great to see you.
It's great to be here.
I want to mention right off the top, and we'll swing back around to it. Jason is also an extremely accomplished graphic artist. I know him first from the music scene, and
He drew that mug right there.
yeah, the graphics behind me, the stuff on the cue cards or the question cards, and my pins and my cups and all this other shit. That's him. He did that. He took a kind of a sweet idea. Yes, cheers, brother. From our good friend Bernie Broderick. It was kind of a geonomic, I don't know. It looked a little like maths, some diamonds and squares put together to kind of simulate my face. And I said, can you do something more with this? Because a friend of mine asked, what's that? Is that a cheese grater?
Yeah.
So I think we can do a little better, put a little more in. And it's a lot of love to Bernie Broderick. But so I wanted to say that, and we'll circle back to his amazing skills as a graphic artist. How have you been doing during this whole last 8 months that you probably haven't been out there with your band much? It's probably slowed your game up a little bit.
Thankfully, been doing really well. You know, family's nice and healthy. Working on new music, you know, that's something that a lot of people are doing right now since we can't play live shows.
You bet.
Pretty much jamming with the guys when we can, you know what I mean? Seems a little harder to get together. The motivation's not exactly the same, you know, because you know the live shows are not there, but we're making the best of our time. And just enjoying the time with our families that we don't usually have when we're touring or doing shows.
Well, that's one thing I've always noticed about you. You have a beautiful daughter named Ezra Sky, who's just, she's precious. I mean, she's the cutest as a button. And sometimes I have seen her at shows where she's got her cans on, she's got her ear protection on, and mom's there. Yeah. You seem to have balanced that out. That's a question in there somewhere deeper, but I'm going to just go there now. Again, we do spontaneity here.
Sure.
But yeah, you've always impressed me with the way you kind of have that lockdown. I mean, I know your love for your wife is real and deep, and the stuff you're doing with your kid all the time, it's really great to see. And somehow or another, it seems to be a contradiction to the punk rock thing that I grew up with in the early days, because we were a mess. But you seem to have it really dialed, and you have a beautiful family.
Thank you.
Tell me, I just poorly described your band. I tried my best. Can you help my audience understand the mission behind the Infirmities? You're a very purposeful band. You guys kick ass. You put on a hell of a show. You're stage-wise, I don't mean to kiss your ass too much, but man, you understand how to operate a stage and how to work with the crowd.
Well, basically, what I wanted to do is create some type of how should I word it, like a punk rock time machine. That's why you have a fusion between, you know, that early 80s hardcore.
Yeah.
A little bit of street punk in there, Salinas' own brand, my hometown, mixed with a little bit of thrash. And then you mix the thrash core with a little bit of the skate core.
Yeah.
And then just kind of bring it around and throw it all into a cup and
The blender.
and blender, and there you go. So I wanted to have something that was like when you came to a show and saw Infirmities perform live, in those 30 minutes, we'd take you through different eras of punk rock. And I didn't want to have stops in between songs. I wanted you to keep your attention the whole 30 minutes. And so that was the idea.
Well, you absolutely pull that off each and every time. I mean, like I said, I've seen you 4 or 5 times. I think it might be 5 or 6 times, and it's a hell of a show. And yeah, and you play with some great bands, and to that point, which is always fun coming out. It's always with somebody like the DKs or RF7, 2 of my favorite all-time bands. I think DKs was my second album I ever bought with my own money in like 80 or something. Fresh Fruit for Rotten Vegetables.
Nice.
What was it like working with the DKs in the East Bay? East Bay, actually, his engineer Carl Anderson is our head of audio here.
Oh, nice.
So DKs, we have a little relationship with them.
Yeah, working with East Bay Ray has been awesome. Actually, actually got to help work on an album cover for his own band, The Killer Smiles.
Yeah.
We did the shows together. We did one in Las Vegas together. It was Infirmities with Dead Kennedys, and it was a benefit show at the Dive Bar. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
And a really good group of guys.
Yeah.
I've also, met Jello throughout the years at different shows and stuff like that, and hung out with him. So, obviously he's not the main singer now.
Obviously.
They got a guy named Skip, but Skip's really fun. Hanging out with Skip.
So because regardless of Jello's sins, and I'm fully aware of them, and a good friend of Jello, I enjoy Jello a great deal. He is an animated. It's so hard, a tiny little guy. It's so hard to explain Jello without almost coming off like you're saying something wrong. Jello's one of a kind, and he's a godfather in this scene. What's your preference for off vinyl, Jello or Skip?
Well, I think the majority of everything I have is Jello singing. So yeah.
Yeah, he's an amazing singer. Something about, I think, when I was writing the script, I was writing the questions. When there was a period, I don't know, it was probably late 80s, middle 80s, where Jello actually went and sang with, and I've got one of their CDs, the DOA and Joey Shithead. Oh. And so it made me put those together, and I know you've also worked with Joey Shithead and DOA. How about that?
Yeah, we just done some shows together, Played with DOA in Costa Mesa at the Tiki Room or Tiki Bar, I believe. Mm-hmm. It's one of Scott Tucker's productions. That was a really fun show. Also played with DOA and MDC over at the Viper Room on the Sunset Strip.
Oh, yeah.
That was MDC's first time on the Sunset Strip, so they were really excited to have that show.
Going up after or before Dave, that's tricky. Yeah, Dave in a good night will put on a show, come out in a dress and piss everybody off and do what he does. He's Dave Dictator.
Dave's a really great guy.
Yeah, I love that guy.
Shout out to Dave.
Yeah, Dave's a badass.
We did a whole Northern California tour with MDC. So we did like Sacramento, San Francisco, and then ended up in Hollywood later, after that tour.
Yeah.
But Dave's a great guy on the road too, and his brother, and just a good group of guys. Everybody in MDC, they were always very loving, treat us like family.
Yeah, I would say the first MDC album is a seminal punk rock work. It should be in a friggin' museum somewhere next to Group Sex and Jealous Again and some of those early ones. I know your band. When I first spotted you guys and came out, you had Harvey Rebellion in it, killing it. I'm fond of him. He's a great guy. The kind of silent fucking guitar killer. He's had that way about him. I love Harvey, and I keep kind of a track of him on the interwaves there every so often. He's still doing what he does. I noticed you changed the lineup a little bit. Talk to us about that.
Well, the original lineup, Infirmities, probably you didn't get to see, but in the first the first lineup of Infirmities featured Art Ruiz on guitar. Which you may know from FUX.
Yes.
Right. So, and actually, a lot of the first couple songs we wrote together, like first 6 songs of Infirmities anthem, trying to create this kind of a fusion. Also had Troy Salas on bass, and we all worked together to get this set that we really wanted to grab people's attention. We had a rule that the songs couldn't be more than a minute long.
That's kind of like a DRI rule.
Yeah, so the Infirmities motto, in case nobody knows it at home, it's kind of funny, but our motto has always been, you miss 2 minutes, you miss 2 songs. So that's pretty much the Infirmities motto. So we live by that motto. When we write our songs, we keep them short and sweet, so that when you watch the set, it's like rapid fire, you know, one after the other, and just the time continuum keeps going.
Yeah.
Keeping your attention. But back to that question, Harvey joined the band around the time we started performing in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. Harvey's from East LA.
Right.
And yeah, we met at one of the shows, became great friends. I was having some lineup changes at the time, and Harvey said, hey, I'll play guitar. Harvey came in solid for 3 years straight, nonstop touring. Really loved working with Harvey, and still do. I have a different way of looking at having a band in general. Even though it may start with 4 guys, it doesn't always stay the Fab Four, you know.
Yeah.
And so a long time ago, I realized it was better to create more of an army of musicians that I could call, have a skeleton crew. You know, so if I got to hit the road and one guy can't make it, you know, I want to be able to call plan A, plan B, plan C, and have everybody already know the material, know the music, and have it tight to where I can just come into different cities, we rehearse it, and then we go perform it live in different clubs.
Wow, clever. Queens of the Stone Age have a kind of a model like that. Josh Homme's kind of the guy, and then he has this, almost like you said, an army of some serious badasses that you can just click into place and make things happen. And yeah, that's definitely a way of getting it done. Yep. Hats off to you on that approach. When you can pull it off, you know, it's kind of a Billy Corgan model too. Gigging with, I've always had a fondness for Sammy from Fang, you know, and I know you've done a lot of work with the Fang. Mm-hmm. What's up with that? I mean, there's but nobody like Sammy from Fang. That's a great band, one of the more fun, kick-ass, you know, punk rock bands in the game.
Sure.
You guys do a lot of stuff together.
Well, when we signed to Malt Soda Records, small story here. Scooter Buell, the owner of Malt Soda, big shout out to Scooter.
Yeah.
He had Fang on the label. Anyone who doesn't know Malt Soda Records, next year will be a 20-year anniversary. I put out records from RKL, Fang, Verbal Abuse, China White, a bunch of great bands. Recently, was announced last week, they're going to be putting out a record from Conflict as well.
Wow.
Which will be released in 2021. And we'll be releasing a new record also next year. But as far as Malt Soda goes, we sent one of our songs to Scooter through email. And he asked me to call him that night. He said, call me at 7 o'clock tonight. So I called him. And he said, I haven't heard anything that I've wanted to sign for a few years. But I played the one song you sent me, and it fits all the Malt Soda catalog. And I made a phone call to Sammy Town and asked him what he thought about Infirmities. And Sammy vouched for you guys, saying that, you know, Jason's a great guy. We've played shows with Infirmities. They're a hardworking band. If you sign them, they're going to sell records because they're always playing shows.
Yeah.
And so, cheers to Sammy, because really, he's a big reason why we got the phone call back to sign to Malt Soda Records.
That's a great story. Yeah. No, I know. I've seen. I think I came to at least one of the Fang shows with you, and we hung backstage with Sammy, and yeah, it's just a natural thing going on there. So that makes perfect sense. Great band. Great shout out to Fang. Talk to us. Now I know in a lot of bands in the punk rock scene in this era, it's tough to go overseas. It's very expensive, and they don't have a lot of shows that can justify the expense and the time. But you got involved with a really amazing tour of the overseas and did a European tour. Talk to us about that. It was really fabulous. I watched you from afar on your posting. It was amazing.
Well, it was obviously a lifelong dream to be able to go overseas and perform in the UK. Rebellion Festival, for those of you that don't know at home, it's kind of like playing the punk rock Disneyland of festivals. I mean, pretty much everybody plays Rebellion Festival every year. I mean, it's 4 days long with like 200 bands or something like that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So it's a crazy lineup. We tried to be getting on Rebellion Festival's radar for a year or two, and I actually sent some songs in. And finally, the main director wrote back and said, I listened to the song, you guys sound great. Maybe we can have you play this year. That particular year, we didn't get it, but I kept in contact with him. And sure enough, the next year, which would be 2018, we got offered a shot to go play the introducing stage at Rebellion. My first reaction to looking at the email was obviously I was super excited. I showed my wife the email, and she said, "Well, congratulations. You know, you've always wanted to go there.
Yeah.
You know, this is like a lifetime achievement thing." She said, "You know, have a great time." And I said, "Well, I'm not going without you.
Yeah, it was so cool of you.
You know, I'm not going without you. I mean, we're all going. You know.
Yeah.
You're coming, and our daughter Ezra's coming too. Even though financially that made it more difficult.
But more of a challenge.
It was more of a challenge, you know, because you
Sure.
got to buy more flights. You got to figure out how you're going to do this as a family. But I wasn't going to do it without her. My wife's been with me for 22 years.
Yeah, she's precious.
And I mean, when we met, I was 19 years old, and she was 17 years old. And we were married very young. Without jobs or knowing anything about what we're going to do in life. We got married because we loved each other, good old-fashioned, you know, true love, which you don't hear about anymore. And, yeah, she was 21 when we got married. I was 23. So we just hit 20-year anniversary this year.
And it seems like, and at least through the pictures and what I can gather, it seems like you're more in love every year.
Oh, yeah.
She's a special woman. You got a great family. You're a lucky man. You know, I was going to ask you about, I know a little bit about your family background. I met your father, a very special, cool-ass guy, about how you got into music. But I think it's like it's in your DNA. I mean, you come from 4 generations of music. I know Sam Martinez is in his own right a badass, and I've actually seen him perform with you, and then videos that you've posted with him is incredible. Talk to us about your pops.
I grew up in a house of music. Dad was always in bands even before I was born. So he played in punk bands even in the 70s. He had a punk band called Red Sun. So Pops was a punk before I was. And Dad was always playing shows, always playing in different clubs. Took me to a lot of concerts since I was a little kid. A lot of reggae shows. My dad also had the first reggae band in Monterey County, Salinas Valley. And in 1981, he formed Battle Cry, which later had a name change to Catch a Beat. Did many years as that band. And then went on to do Chicano All-Stars, which has now been a band for about 20 years.
They're great.
And,
a lot of fun.
Yeah, and that's basically, you know, Latin rock and R&B. But yeah, my dad was a big influence on me as far as he was a big encouragement to me to pursue music. Obviously, he put every instrument in front of me, you know, like drum sets, guitars.
Yeah, that's really cool.
But the reality was that I always wanted to be the singer, the front man. I mean, I was an MTV kid. I'd come home after school, put on MTV, and watch videos, and you know, I'd grab the mop in the kitchen and pretend it was the mic stand. And,
Right.
you know, I mean, there's videos of me as a kid, you know, wanting to be the singer in a band, but I didn't have a band until I was about 15.
That's still a good start, though. Yeah. We were like that in our house. You run around with, you know, wooden spoons and shit, and, you know, air guitaring. And so, it's a thing. I wanted to bring up, in context with your father and yourself, and a kind of a triangulated thing that we shared, which was our good friend, Dennis Deacon. Mm-hmm. Dennis Deacon knew your father. We were all friends. But he was more than that. Dennis Deacon was kind of a Bay Area legend in the sense that he supported all bands and all the genres. This is Lovers and Strangers. This is The Believers. This is Drunk with Power, Psychos in Love, FUX you mentioned. By the way, shout out to Arthur Cobleson and Delaney Cobleson. Arthur, I see you're with FUX. What the hell? How many bands are you in, brother? Such a badass, that guy.
Oh, yeah.
This is too much. And I love his wife. She's so sweet. But Dennis, he's always there. The festivals, it didn't matter. The last thing I think me and him did together was with you. It was the Subhumans at the Catalyst, which that was an amazing night. One of my favorite British bands, and you just ripping a hole in the Catalyst. Yeah, it sounds like we're playing playthrough. But yeah, I miss him. And any special words, any special memories with Dennis Deacon? He died on us out of nowhere.
Deacon was very special. Anyone that knew Deacon, not only did he come to every single punk show in the area. I mean, he was a very important part of the punk rock scene.
There he is on the screen there. Remember that night?
Oh, yeah.
The Fox?
I remember that night. There he's jumping up and down.
Had so much energy.
Deacon was the kind of guy, he'd get everybody in the town to come to the show, even if they weren't into punk rock. He was also the kind of person that would encourage anybody that he met. To follow whatever passion or whatever dream that they had. Dennis was a very, very special person. We all love and miss Dennis Deacon. He was basically like a local punk rock hero. I mean, as far as not only did he play in Drunk with Power, which he was super excited when I told him I wanted Drunk with Power to play at the Fox Theater, because he had come to all our shows at the Fox. And I said, well, you got to get the guys back together so you can come and open for the Vibrators from the UK. So they had their last show there with Dennis on the bass at the Fox Theater. And that just, made his whole year.
He was as happy as could be that night.
Yeah, he was really happy about it.
Yeah, it was a great show. The whole
Hey,
experience.
Scott Perlman just chimed in. He said, when I was working with Jason Newstead, we did some small shows in Northern Cal, and I think they opened up on one.
Wow. I think it's possible, Scott, but Dennis was probably my best friend in the world, and he would have crowed about that. Oh, my God. And he never mentioned working with Jason. But he was prolific. This guy was in 6 or 7 bands in his life. He was a roadie for, I can't even tell you how many bands, regardless of genre, and truly one-of-a-kind guy. You worked with RF7. Now, RF7 to me are one of the RF7 rock in a strange space. Their singer's voice, kicks in ass. They got that weird thing. I love RF7. I don't know if you noticed, you were noticing some of our framed art over there.
Yeah.
One of them is The Way of the World.
Yeah.
Because it's just such a singular, what was your night like with RF7, playing with RF7? Did they bring it, first of all?
They're really, the singer's got a really big heart, really awesome guy.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think our first show with RF7 would have been in Long Beach at the Blacklight District Lounge, used to be called Rock and Roll Lounge, something like that. It's no longer there, but it had a good amount of punk shows that were showcased there, and RF7 was one of them. And I remember when I got off the stage, I ended up sitting with him for at least an hour. He was just excited about our sound, and we wanted to do more shows together. Really helpful guy, someone that, right away handed me an RF7 7-inch like on the spot, and I handed him an Infirmities CD, you know what I mean?
Right.
We didn't have vinyl yet at the time. Vinyl came later, but I guess that's something that bands do, once we find other bands we like, we just give all our stuff away,
That's right, absolutely.
We trade, right?
Yeah, sure.
So.
Sure. No, they were, it was, I was 14. I'm listening to RF7, like 1981, 80, whatever. I would just play that thing. And that was, I did have vinyl only.
Yeah.
To choose from. And that album was seminal in my head. I've been listening to them all week, writing your show, actually playing them on it's been kind of fun.
Awesome.
As I mentioned in the intro, faith is important to you. That's a part of your life. And I'm interested to know how you incorporate that in your music, because I know that there is a thread of that in the music and in the message.
Yeah, well, basically, I look at it like, I think in punk rock, there's sort of been this gap as far as, people that are for God or they're against God. When Infirmities was created, I saw it more as a way to bridge the gap. And I always felt like if you had a band like this, we're all brothers in the circle pit, And when you have a band that's having song after song after song, once they get in the pit, they can't get out because the songs don't stop.
That's right.
And I always knew that there was a sense of unity in the punk scene, and I wanted to have a band that could just create that bridge. And also have that respect for the punk rocker in the room who's against God versus the guy who's okay with it. And so pretty much what Infirmities is it's a type of band where it meets you where you are. And there's no judgment there, because before Infirmities, I was in many punk rock bands throughout my life and had my many years of partying and doing all my thing, and it just got to a certain point, like in my mid-20s, after having about 15 years of, waking up passed out on the floor, not knowing where you are, you kind of come to realize, like, maybe this is like a dead-end road for me.
There's another way.
Yeah, there's got to be another way. And so for me, that came at about 26 years old. And, that's basically when it began. But yeah, basically, but also saying that, we're the kind of guys where, if you sat with us after the show, we're not going to get preachy on you.
I never got that from you. And I've seen that you are very fan friendly, and, you'll hang, and I've countless pictures of you. And like I said, I've hung with you, and I've never got that from you at all. Yeah.
We always respect everyone right where they are.
Yeah. It's a really nice way to kind of, round that out. You've written a lot of cool songs, What's your process? How does it work for you? You start with the lyrics, you got a tune in your head.
It's always different.
Yeah.
Sometimes the guitar player's got a riff. Other times I could be driving in my car and I hear a chorus. Sometimes I'm about to go to bed and I think of this like crazy, weird combination that's going to go in between these two other ideas. I don't really have one single process. I think some bands talk about having just one way. I don't think there's just one way.
I've heard it referred to as the formula.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is formulas, and the Pixies follow a formula. Nirvana followed a formula, but that's not always the way it has to be. There's
there's definitely a lot of different ways. I think Infirmities does have a formula as far as keeping the song short and tight, but
I think that's a mandate.
Yeah. Once it's too long, it's like, cut it. It's too long.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's no one set way for us to write a song. We are, it's pretty much an open forum. And there's also an agreement that it doesn't matter who writes it in the band, because if we all like the song, we keep it. And that's it. It's cool. Another song.
Right on.
So there's no well, he wrote it and I wrote it. No, it's
not a Lennon-McCarthy situation.
No. It's very open forum. It's like, I got a riff, let's try it. We all like it, cool. Throw it in.
Yeah. No, that's, I think, kind of the spirit that punk rock was born from. It's DIY, and then when you feel it, you just feel it and let it happen. Yeah. So that's a special thing. I mentioned earlier that you were quite the graphics designer. I've seen some of your flyers, really amazing posters, your merch. Some of your merch is ridiculous, like super killer.
Yeah, we got
a board you brought. Check this board out.
He's
got graphics on boards that are like.
Here, I'll walk it up.
Mikey, can you pull in on that, Daddy? Bear with us a second. This is worth seeing.
Look at that thing,
really
man.
Cool.
That's the.
Come back, pull back a little, Michael. Right there. It's a little dark, but
it looks nice.
It's really great stuff. Amazing artwork. Do you do most? I know you have you've been known as, I think, Mr. Hat. You do some graphics under the banner Mr. Hat. Mm-hmm. What's the deal with that? I know you've actually won some awards in the process.
Well, basically, when I don't have a mohawk, because obviously,
Well, I've seen you clean right up. You can clean right up. You got like 2 U's. Yeah.
So many years ago, Well, I've always been doing graphic design. So before that, it was just art. I was good at drawing as a kid, and I loved to draw. And I used to sell my drawings to friends, like in the second grade, for like, when lunch break came, I'd have like a line of kids, and I'd sell my drawings for 50 cents.
Yeah.
And so from that, I went to art school when I was a young kid. I was like in 4th grade. And the teachers noticed, they told my parents, we'd like to recommend your son go to an art school instead of regular school. So then I had a year of that. And then by the time I was out of high school, I always loved cut and paste punk rock flyers. So right in my senior year, I got into graphic design. And I started learning all the programs, Adobe, Photoshop, and all that stuff. And I've been doing graphics for a long time, like over 20 years. I started my own business about 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. I had an office in Old Town Salinas for 10 years, which I didn't close until my daughter was born, because I decided I would rather work from home and be able to take her to the park every day and not have to worry about any type of office rent or anything like that. So once she came along, I closed the office after 10 years, packed up my toys and put some of them away, and I worked from home so I could raise my daughter. And it was the right decision, because you don't get back those first 5 years.
No.
And it was an awesome experience. But yeah, Mr. Hat it started as a joke because I've always wore hats. I love hats.
There she is on the screen now.
Yeah, there's
Beautiful
my daughter.
Girl. Lovely.
That's the first time we played at the Fox Theater. Shout out to Anthony Lane. And, I always loved wearing hats when I didn't have my mohawk up. And I'm not big on combing my hair because I don't have much hair anyways. So I started collecting hats, I don't know how many years ago. And every time I went to work, I always had a hat on. So one of my friends said, you should call yourself Jason the Hat. And I used to call him Joey the Jazz because he liked listening to jazz music. So it was Jason the Hat and Joey the Jazz. And eventually, getting married, the hat became Mr. Hat. So then at some point, another friend said, why don't you change the name of the business to Hey Mr. Hat? Because everyone knows you as the Hat now. So that's where the Mr. Hat thing came about.
Gotcha. Makes perfect sense. And I have seen you in a hat on a few occasions. That is an MO for you. If the hawk's not up, the hat that is on seems to be the rules. And it came up, I think the second show I ever saw was with my brother. We were here, we moved up like on a Tuesday, and it was like a Thursday. And it was at the Elite Club, in the second show I saw in the Bay Area. This is maybe 1982. And it was the Dead Kennedys, 45 Grave, Toiling Midgets, Circle One, and Free Beer.
Wow.
And
that's a lineup.
Yeah, right. And I remember not knowing much. I knew the DKs. I knew the Toiling Midgets. I didn't know much about 45 Grave. I had heard him, and I thought Don Bowles was an amazing drummer. Mm-hmm. And went in and saw that show and was blown the fuck away.
Yeah.
You've worked with 45 Grave. What was it like? They still bring it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, she was a great singer.
Oh, yeah.
Dinah
Phenomenal.
Cancer. That's a great name, too. Great punk rock singer named Dinah Cancer.
It's pretty straight up.
Yeah. You had fun with them? Any good memories?
I remember seeing them with Jello. They played Planet Gemini. 45 Grave with Jello Biafra. That was a great show.
Jesus, I missed that. I
Yeah.
didn't even hear that one.
That was, I don't remember the year anymore, but it was a really good one. But yeah, just some shows in LA. A lot of things happening in LA.
Yeah, I know. It's a much wider market. You can get a really good show going.
I always tell people, LA never dies.
Yeah, well, let's hope.
So.
Let's hope. They're a little, and they are in the earthquake zone, a little close to the sea. You never know what could happen. Mm-hmm. And most of the time they're on fire. But other than that, you've done some amazing shows. Do you have a favorite?
Ooh,
one
that's
that just
tough.
Stuck with you, like.
That is tough. Well, really, the biggest stage we ever performed on was at Rebellion Festival just this past summer, 2019.
Yeah.
The year previous at Rebellion Festival, we started a small introducing stage, which is the first time band stage that all the bands started out on. And at our performance, my daughter decides that she wants to sing with the band. And so this had never happened before, and it wasn't rehearsed. even though she'd been on stage with Daddy many times.
Yeah, I've seen her.
I told the sound man, turn up her microphone all the way, keep an eye on her mic. I don't know what she's going to do. But we came a long way to do this thing, so I want to make sure my daughter's nice and loud. So he did, and my daughter just attacked it. She was 5 years old. You know, camera flashes are going off like crazy. This little punk rock little girl running around the stage with her dad. And the main directors of a Rebellion Festival in the UK came and talked to me right when we got off the stage, and they said, you got to come back next year, and we got to have you on the main stage. So we got that kind of invitation. I mean, you don't say no to that. So
No.
even if though financially we knew we couldn't really afford to go all the way back all over again, but we did it, right?
Yeah.
You know, and we ended up playing the main stage, which was the Empress Ballroom stage. Biggest stage I've ever played in my life, humongous.
Yeah.
Other people that performed in that stage would be the Beatles, Frank Sinatra, Queen, the Rolling Stones. So, I mean, for me to even be on that stage and see plaques on the wall of all these bands,
Yeah.
they
Pretty special.
have performed in there, was very, very special.
Yes.
And a ballroom is totally different than performing like on a regular type of show. I mean, you look up and there's like different levels and stuff.
Yeah,
you know, it's
yeah.
it's really cool.
Old school Europe, they have a different way.
So that was really special. To me, that was my favorite show because not only was it the biggest stage Daddy's ever been on, but I got to have my daughter up there with me singing. And so it became a really special memory for both of us.
I think I've seen you do that twice, and the crowd loves that.
Yeah.
They go nuts. And I can only imagine that she actually gets on a mic and starts singing.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Just fall apart. It's a bunch of punk rockers being all, you know, having an emotional moment. That's unusual.
Yeah, and
But I've
it's
actually felt
never rehearsed. It's
No,
always
no.
spontaneous.
Sure.
And the crowd can see that. So some people tell me, "What do you practice with her?" No way. I mean, it's kind of more like she just goes up there and goes for it. And I think if I practiced with it all the time, it becomes more boring, kind of like
Yeah, a little
like a little
staged.
more more
Yeah,
staged. And I
yeah.
never wanted it to feel staged for the crowd because I was having just as much fun seeing. I didn't know what she was gonna do either.
Yeah.
And Mom's over there with the camera filming it. So it's just always it's just candid and fun, and it was never rehearsed, nothing like that. So it was just all came naturally. She did go on to win her own talent show when she was 5, where she sang all by herself and
DNA,
and
genetics.
You know,
It's in,
so-
it's in her blood. She's almost has no choice.
yeah,
You know, the family that you have and the music that it's through your DNA. And
Yeah.
it shows. You know, you have some really killer merch. I've always been a fan of your merch. The skateboard is. I've bought a few shirts from you. You've given me a few things. Do you design that stuff yourself?
yeah. I design everything that you see with Infirmities. I've designed it, and I think a big part of the branding of the band has to do with me being a graphic designer for 20 years. I kind of knew what I wanted, and I wanted us to have a symbol. I wanted us to have a logo that people remembered, and I worked really hard on that. So our whole look, our whole theme, and everything, I've designed it all. So, yeah.
Yeah, no. Some of your stuff is so on point. It's really killer. You clearly live in that world well. You brought up malt soda before. I know you got a little banner here. Maybe you want to show. Talk to us about malt soda again.
Malt
This
Soda
is your
Records.
record
Yeah.
company that you're making a new record on.
Yeah, we got a new album coming out, and it was actually recorded back in 2017 when we headlined the Fox Theater.
Mm-hmm.
And probably most likely in March. We don't have an actual date, but right now we're in the final mixing stages of mixing that live night. That we actually advertised that night. Come to the show and be on a live recorded in our hometown, and we got to headline the Fox. It was just really special. Everyone that came out that night, I mean, it was like hugs, excitement. You know, you can hear the crowd
Yeah.
just having a
fun
great
night.
time, knowing they're going to be on an album when they're screaming in the crowd. And so now that, you know, with 2020 being the way it was, I finally wasn't doing lots of shows and touring, and so I reached out to Anthony Lane, who's the owner of the Fox Theater and has a studio there at the Fox, and said, hey, let's mix that thing. You know, I think I've waited long enough. It's been a couple of years, and I really want to get that thing out. I called Scooter up. She was, yeah, let's put it out. Let's put it out. So next year, 2021, you'll finally see that record, Infirmities, live at the Fox Theater. And it's got 16 songs. So 16 live songs.
Very cool. Who's your engineer? Who's mixing that?
Anthony himself.
No
Yeah,
kidding.
Anthony
Good
Lane.
old
Yeah.
Anthony Lane. That's pretty cool. And it's going to be live at. It's going to be called Live at the Fox Theater.
Live at the Fox Theater, yeah.
Your brother joined in on the chat, said, I was at most of those shows with you.
Yeah, the lieutenant. It's the
Nice.
lieutenant. On this one, I'm the general. I'm the general. He's the lieutenant.
All
But
right.
when he comes into the shop, it flips back around, and I go lieutenant. He goes general. Love you, bro. What's next for the Infirmities? I know you got the album coming out. Got any immediate plans? Something you can imagine just outside when this gets all better here in the next few months, hopefully?
Well, we had a lot of things that were obviously planned and had to get moved to next year. One of those was we were going to play at Punk Rock Bowling this year, and that's all been moved to next year. Crash Festival we'll be doing in 2021, and that's here locally in Oakland. And big shout out to Mike. I know he's watching tonight from Crash Fest.
Hi, Mike.
And yeah, so we'll definitely be back on the circuit as long as everything opens up. You know, we're all hoping for the best, right? Yeah, and besides that, there's a documentary that's been in production for a couple years. And that's going to be not coming out next year, but we're working on a documentary.
Specific to the Infirmities or in the punk rock movement in general?
Specific to Infirmities. The director's name is Jeremy Mowry. He's put out other indie films. He's from Los Angeles, and we've been in production for a couple years. We've interviewed different people that Infirmities have toured or played shows with. So far we have like HR Bad Brains is in it, Jack Grissom, Blag from the Dwarves, Agent Oranges is in the movie, and they're all just giving commentary about experiences.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun once it's all finished. But we keep filming and adding more and more and more. So it's pretty much like it's basically my life story, and then it covers all the history of Infirmities, so all 8 years.
You mentioned HR, the one and only legendary HR from the Bad Brains, the singer for the Bad Brains. I know I see you're wearing the PMA tour shirt from HR, PMA, Positive Mental Attitude. Easily one of the, as a roadie, I credit, and it might be a little misleading because nobody paid me. We did a show with them in the Bad Brains, with the Bad Religion. It was the Bad Show, Bad Religion, Bad Brains, and in the late 82-ish. And me and my brother stayed behind, and we helped load, you know, and I kind of call that like my first roadie experience. And I mean, what can you say? It's the Bad Brains. They're literally the godfathers of badassery in the game, and they come at it with such a unique take. And they've had so many kind of versions of the Bad Brains. What's it like working with the modern HR? I've worked with the early HR, 40 years ago guy.
We've done many different tours, but for me, my favorite tour will always be the HR Bad Brains tour.
Yeah.
And
Dr. No, everybody?
well, no, he had his own band come along. We actually had Norwood Fisher on bass from Fishbone.
I know, yeah.
And we had Spacey T on guitar. We did a whole West Coast tour. So we did like Whiskey A Go-Go. We did 94 Gilman Street here in Berkeley.
Wow.
It was really awesome. We were direct support for all the gigs. And yeah, this was the tour right here. So it's back in 2015. We shared one huge tour van. It was the experience of waking up every morning and sipping tea with HR and then, going outside and having a little bit of prayer time, and then actually like me and him going to dinner and eating Chinese food together and watching Bruce Lee movies together. I mean, to me, it doesn't get better than that.
That's pretty good.
I mean, I remember watching The Big Boss with HR on the couch, and we had one night off in that tour. And we bonded a lot on that tour. I mean, he shared stories with me from when he was a kid, growing up in a house, you know, that went to church and listened to gospel, and how he got into everything. You know, for me, it was just nothing can touch that specific tour. And because we were the type of band that was gravitating towards rocking for light, just like Bad Brains were,
Yeah.
There couldn't have been a better combination.
Yeah, that is a good matchup, you know,
Yeah.
for energy-wise.
Yeah, and we talk all the time. I mean, HR calls me on my birthday. He sent me an HR medallion in the mail for my birthday.
That's perfect.
And yeah, I have his home number.
He's a
Call
class
HR.
act.
You know, he's a great guy.
Yeah. One of the best produced albums, I think, in punk rock, early punk rock, which was done by Rick Ocasek from the Cars, was the Bad Brains first album. Fantastic. Only second maybe to Germs GI, which was done by Joan Jett, who really, I mean, that album was ridiculous. That's also Don Bolles on drums.
Yeah.
Killing it with Pat Schmear. But yeah, that's one of my favorite albums of all time. Is the which was actually a yellow tape, if you remember.
Yeah.
You can only get it on a bright yellow tape.
Yep.
Yeah, and we used to kill those like left and right. It was terrible. You know, you'd be like, you try to put it back together with your pen, and yeah, it's the thing. I got a question from a good friend of ours, Lee Wilkerson, who's interested to know, because we don't have artists on the show much. You know, we're more about our disciplines of the different lighting guys and folks that do what we do, and that's kind of the audience too. But he's curious from an artist point of view what you'd like to see techs, roadies, people like us do different or better as an artist. And I mean, you've done a lot of shows, brother. You've been at this for a minute, and I know you've had to have a couple experiences where you may have an opinion on this subject. And we're listening. Bring it. Go on.
That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are so important, I mean, to the artist, and anybody at home who's watching this who doesn't get to necessarily see it from the other end of the spectrum. I mean, a band can't go up there and just do what we do without people like yourselves, you know. One of the things I learned in the business many years back is the first thing you do when you walk into a club is become friends with the sound man.
Yeah, make
You
nice.
know? Yeah, be nice. Okay, they got to deal with a lot of stuff. They got to deal with a lot of attitudes, and it worked every time. You know, and a lot of times when we left all those venues, they all said, "Hey, man, great set. You guys sounded great. Said thank you for running our sound." You know,
Yeah.
I'm real big on thanking people, and I think that as far as changing something, I mean, I haven't had too many bad experiences or anything like that. I'm sure a lot of bands will give horror stories. I can remember one time when we played in Germany, and we just could not understand each other. I don't know if it was he mostly spoke German and we spoke English, and we were playing this kind of a flat place, and I couldn't really understand what he wanted, and then he couldn't understand what I wanted. So it was like, eventually, like, it sounded awesome, and we're like, yeah, that's it. You know? So, I mean, I don't know, but as far as, I mean, communication is the biggest thing.
Yes.
You know,
Couldn't
and I
agree more.
think as long as you guys communicate with us, what you can do or what you can't do, we'll communicate with you guys and keep that open. You know what I mean? I think, but so far I haven't had too many bad experiences, like I said. And then one particular time when you jumped on the soundboard at one of our shows, because you heard something, you said, "Hey, get over there."
There were no
Appreciated
subs.
that. Yeah. The subs were off.
They had the subs muted on a system that our company we had installed a year or two earlier.
Yeah.
It was incredible, and so I had no choice.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. That was a great show, by the way. You were with help me with it.
Psychosomatic.
Psychosomatic.
Yeah, it was a
they
psychosomatic show.
put on a hell of a show. It's,
Homecoming show.
yeah.
Shout out to Jeff
Yes,
Delgado.
Mr. Salgado. I guarantee he's not watching. Too grumpy.
He was actually, Psychosomatic takes it pretty far back. My very first punk band, we opened for Psychosomatic.
Yeah.
And they had been around way long before us.
Oh no, they're a legit deal.
Yeah.
They're a real deal.
But I
for
remember
sure.
being like 15 years old and looking at Jeff when he had like long dreads and stuff and just being like in awe,
Yeah.
like they were like like gods or something to us, you know.
They do a
We're
great-
like 15 and
I
this
get it,
band comes
totally.
on, they were super tight and blew us away.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, that's what we're supposed to do. Okay,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
go back to the garage, you know.
They showed you the template
know.
a little bit. They do
Yeah.
a great version of the GBH's Time Bomb.
Oh, yeah, they do.
They murder that thing. That's super. Yeah, they're a great band to see live.
Yep.
Let me see. Now, I hate to keep doing this to you, but there's some band. I've been out of the mix for a minute. Now, you know that. Even when I was coming to your shows, I was out of the mix, and I still throw on my albums and listen to my music. I'm a fan of most musics, and particularly early hardcore punk rock. But there's a couple of them that were just seminal to my upbringing that you've played with in the modern context, which I have no relationship with that. So I'm curious how they were pulling it off. And for me, I'm going to Angry Samoan.
Give him something else, because he keeps on playing Fear over and over and over. As much as I love
You've had enough leaving for
There
the
is
year.
no such thing as enough leaving. Let me straighten you out. We got your symbol up over the top of us
I see that.
on the lead
Awesome.
wall behind us.
Awesome.
Leaving's a badass. Philo Kramer
is.
is an amazing guitarist, and Spit Sticks is one of the most incredible drummers I've ever seen. Well, you can't really see him; you just see the tips of his sticks because he's a really short guy.
Yeah.
But he was a badass. But I played Minor Threat earlier. I didn't get anything for that.
Okay.
Come on, stop. Angry
miss-
Samoans. Did you have fun with him?
Oh yeah.
They
No,
played
that
Gas
was fun.
Chamber
That
and
was
all
in
the
San
great-
Jose actually.
Yeah.
We did a show with Angry Samoans, and that was a lot of fun. Mike's a character.
Yeah.
I know Mike, and gosh, who else? I mean, there's just so many bands. You know, I sit here and I look at. It's like going through memory lane. It's like, how many bands are there? It's like,
Well, your list
I don't know
is
who
impressive.
to list
It's
here.
DRI.
DRI, we got to be main support. It was in Fresno in a big ballroom type setting, and we ended up doing a couple shows with DRI after that.
Yeah.
Working with those guys, complete professionals. I mean, and they are a touring machine.
That's a fact.
DRI is
They're
always
in Europe
always
frequently.
playing
They're in
shows.
South America frequently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome band. Gosh, there's just a bunch. I mean, I don't even name some of those. Descendants, we got to play with Descendants
Milo,
in the UK.
one of the best.
Exploited, Wadi. I mean, they're just
Exploited rule, dude. Exploited
so
is
many
so
bands.
much fun. Punk's not dead, and we all know it, and you're living proof. Hell,
Yeah.
I'm proof. Listen, you've been in the business a while. You pay attention to the news. You have opinions. And it's been great having you on this show. Thank you very much. I'm curious what you think is around the corner here for the entertainment industry, from your perspective as an artist, from our perspective as people that provide the amps and the stacks and racks, as we say. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I don't know what's going to happen, but I do feel like we need to try our best to stay creative and try to use whatever we have accessible right now.
Yes, sir.
We did a music video, which I had you in it, where at the beginning of the whole lockdown thing, the SIP. I heard the abbreviation today, SIP, which means shelter in place.
It also means sound image production.
Yes. So, there you go. So, anyways, if you choose to sip and stay home, I mean, there's a lot of things you can do as a band. The reality is that I know that performing live has always been what we do.
Yeah.
But we embraced we did a video right out of the garage.
Mm-hmm.
And my drummer had this awesome idea. He said, why don't you get everybody who's at home, who's into the band, to like circle pit in their living room and jump off couches, jump off chairs, and we'll put all the clips into our show from the garage. And it was a great idea. The only thing, I was the guy editing the video, and it was so many submissions, it just took me forever to make that video, because it was like,
Yeah.
I'd finished like 20 clips of people, and then somebody would be like, all right, I'm sending you my video tonight. So it just kept going on and on. But it became one of the greatest videos we have. It's on our YouTube channel.
I remember. I think
And
it's me sitting in my chair rocking
yeah, you're
to
in
it.
the chair. I did you in slow motion, It was kind of, but it was just a great idea.
Yeah.
I mean, utilize your friends, utilize your fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't just say, hey, we'll see you next year and see you later, or whatever, and we hope for the best. You can get them involved right now.
You know, there's
You know?
some live streaming platforms out there. A couple, I shouldn't name names, but there are platforms out there where you can charge a nominal $3 for a ticket.
Yeah.
Come into a place like this, a stage, sound stage that's set up to do live streaming. This show is proof of concept that we do this. We've done it with Lovers and Strangers. We've done it with others.
Yeah.
And you know, reverse that around a little bit. Maybe come in and do a big rock show, put your drummer on a drum riser, have professional lighting, professional video. So it's something to
Absolutely.
think about. Just know that we are here for you if you ever want to do that.
Absolutely.
We-
We'll definitely do that in the future.
Yeah, we would love that. We would love to be, again, to one of these days, our goal is to work for you. That's the whole game. That's what we do on this side of the stage is work for the artist. It's really great to see you again. I've missed you. All my love to your family, your beautiful, wonderful family. Thank you for coming all the way out, and we appreciate you. You're a great guest.
Thank you for having me.
Take care.
Appreciate it.
It was our pleasure. Take care of yourself. Listen, we had a great show. I love this guy. He's a great special man. Next week, we're going to have a very special interview. We're going to bring out Rick Allen and his lovely wife, Lauren Monroe Allen. Rick's the drummer for Def Leppard. You've heard me mention that he's been doing some work in here, and his wife's incredible band, getting ready for this fundraiser. We're going to kind of chat about the fundraiser. We're going to chat about his history, her history, their music. We're going to have some special live clips, and it should be a really good show. We'd love for you to tune in. Once again, I'd love to thank my good special brother, my co-host, Kyle Thomas, and the man behind the machines, and I mean a lot of machines, Michael Brown. Thank you, Michael. A little love to my woman. I miss you, baby. See you soon. And we hope you're here next week, 7 p.m. Thursday. Come see us for interview Rick Allen and Lauren Monroe. Until then, you have a great night.